Hello, welcome to Talking with Tiffany. Today is Self Sundays. Today's topic today we are talking about self-correction, and this is actually a fun topic for me because being a parent, we have to recognize what self-correction is. And today I also have a special guest. So before I start, I'd like to read a excerpt out my book about self-correction. Page 16, there is always a correct way. Correct, free from error in accordance with fact or truth. I'm not here to tell you in detail how you can correct anything in your life. I'm just here to represent the word correct and encourage you to become more open to loving the word. When I used to see the word correct or I would hear the word correct, I would immediately think that someone was trying to tell me I was wrong. And by wrong, I meant stupid. Can we normalize that you are not stupid just because you're wrong about something? There is a high possibility that you really didn't have a better answer or the correct answer. This topic arose on a day I was talking to my oldest daughter. Right now, she's a hormonal teenager with a heart of gold and a mouth full of spitfire. Pray for me. Send help now, SOS. During this abrupt conversation she and I were having, she spouted out, "Oh, here you go. Always trying to make somebody be wanting to be right and make somebody feel stupid." In an absent-minded parent moment, I would have normally lost my marbles, but I had prepared myself for this conversation. Preparation is always necessary to succeed in your mission. My response to her was I didn't have the ability to make her feel any type of way, but I wasn't going to take away from what she was experiencing. I had explained to her that the reason she might be feeling that way is because she created the assumption in her head that she doesn't know something. She feels stupid, and in return, she will project those feelings onto me as if I feel that way about her too. I had to ask her, had she ever thought about asking me what my intent was? She said no. I did something that most people do. And when I say most people, especially Black people, I feel uncomfortable doing this. I explained to myself. Yes, I know you're shocked, especially if you would have heard her tone, because boy, it was a mess. I told my daughter that when she doesn't know something, that is a perfect moment for me to educate her. And if someone can explain to me that they knew exactly what they were supposed to do when they did the opposite, I would then pull out that card from the category of stupid and place it on the table as an option for them to place themselves in. On many occasions, that wasn't the case for her. I'm the parent and I'm supposed to be teaching her about life. Most of the time, when we don't feel good about something we've done, it's often because deep down inside we know there was a better way to do it. People tend to view themselves in the most positive ways instead of the most honest ways. While things outside of us also contribute to our success or failures, what counts is on the inside. Managing your thoughts, emotions, motives, and self talk will allow great rewards during this self discovery journey. You have to be okay with not knowing everything. And now I would like to welcome my guest, my beautiful, wonderful, amazing daughter, Jade Thomas. Whoop, whoop.
Oh my gosh!
Jay!
This is weird because you're upstairs and I'm way downstairs.
It's totally okay. I appreciate you for coming on today, and stuff. We're going to talk about self-correction. Me and you talked about this briefly. And so what is self-correction? It is the action or process of correcting something, a change that rectifies an error or an inaccuracy. So self-correction is doing that within yourself, making sure that you can correct things that you don't necessarily do right. And that you might be like, oh, instead of waiting for somebody else to correct you, it's self-correction. What things do you allow yourself to self-correct?
Um, well, for one, I do a lot of self correction. Well, one thing you've taught me when I do the most self correction is when I notice I don't like things about others. Things
Say
that
it again.
when I see things that I dislike about others. Because then it's like, oh, you do that. So if you don't like that about them, that's something you need to fix within yourself. Um, so that's when I do the most self correction. And just when I know that I've done something disappointing, um, I go back and I reflect and I think about my part in it mostly. because that's the only thing that I can fix is what I did in it and what can I do to make it better, and that's fixing something within me. So
Right.
yeah.
For me, what self correction do I allow for myself is I don't like to feel like Jay was saying, I don't like to feel like I did something wrong. So when I do something wrong, I'm immediately trying to figure out what I could have done better and what I can do to correct that next time, because you're not always going to make the right decision the first time. And so a lot of times we don't give ourselves enough grace to say, okay, I don't know everything, but that also happens with when you don't read the directions of something and understand that. So when you are self-correcting, do you feel like you give yourself the opportunity for grace? Like, do you give yourself mercy that you're like, okay, I messed up and now I can fix it? Or do you think you're hard on yourself when you're trying to self-correct?
Sometimes I'm hard on myself, but get telling myself that it's okay to mess up and it's gonna help me grow, and it's all a learning experience. Yeah, that's something I'm working on. Not beating myself up about it.
That's good. So when we in my book, I talk about me and you having a conversation where you said to me, "Oh, here you go again, always trying to make somebody look stupid."
Yeah.
Do you think that you can explain to the viewers why you feel that way and why most people feel that way when somebody is trying to help correct them?
Um, because sometimes a lot of times it's put out there that being wrong is being stupid. Um, and being wrong is just it's just it's a doorway to grow, to help you grow.
Ooh, it's a doorway to growth.
Yeah. So being wrong, it's not, it doesn't make you stupid. Um, it just allows growth. So and you have to allow that growth to come in.
Right. I like that. I like the fact that when we had that conversation that day, you were in high anxiety because we were talking about the dog and I was telling you stuff about what I thought about the dog, and you're not stupid, you're very bright. But one of the things that you allowed me to see was the fact that I made you feel that way, that you were having that feeling like you're like, "Mom, it's sometimes you," we were just talking about that. You said my tone and stuff like that, and sometimes my self-correction can come off. Do
Yeah.
you think that, because I remember Daddy said to me, he said, if I could go back and not pay attention to your tone, I would be a lot better off because I know that you were just trying to help me and I was distracted by your tone and not your words. Do you think when we are self-correcting, do you think sometimes the tone to ourself is off and that's why we have a hard time to correct?
Um. Yeah. Because like you were just telling me, is it's you can't control based off of reaction. You can't control your facial expressions and your tone when that's just someone's natural way of reacting.
Right.
So, can you go deeper into the question? Because I
No, no, you answered it great. Like you were just basically saying, like, you can't control that. So re- putting so much attention on what somehow you say something to yourself, like even when you mess up and you're trying to correct yourself, like me, if I'm like, you big dummy, Tiffany, why'd you do that? Like,
yeah.
I'm gonna have a harder time correcting myself if it's like, hey, Tiff, you mess up sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's okay. Do you think tone also matters when you're talking to yourself in self correction mode?
Definitely, because then it directs the way you respond to how others correct you.
Hmm.
Um,
Yes.
so when you learn how to speak to yourself properly, you're going to be able to respond to other people the right
Why
way.
do you why do you believe that? Because, and I say that because we talk about this a lot about how you have to encourage yourself and what things you have to speak into yourself. Why is that important about how you speak to yourself?
Um, because well, for me, one of the biggest things was learning how to love myself before I tried to put that burden onto somebody else.
Oof.
Um, and so learning how to speak to myself before I try to go get it from others, it's a big thing. Saying good things to yourself, affirmations, and reminding yourself that you're great. It's just a bad day. You're going to be okay. Stuff like that. So then when you get out there and people say certain things or things that may be off or mean things, unkind things that don't encourage growth or empowerment or just encouragement in general, um, then you have yourself, and you know that what you say to yourself, that's what really matters.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Because think about it, if you don't talk to yourself well, me and you were just talking about this, is that how are you able to see it when others say it to you?
Right? How
Because if
are
you
you
don't,
able to perceive it?
yeah, if you don't know what it looks like, what are you
It's
looking for?
familiar to you. You
Yeah.
have to make it a familiar thing in order to accept it when others do give you encouragement. Like you, like I spoke so down on myself to myself, and I got so caught up in my head. And then when you would try to encourage me, I would push it off.
Mm.
So learning how to say those things to myself, and then when others say it about me, it's like, yeah, that is true. I say that about myself, like, yeah, that's true. Like, it's yeah, speaking to yourself, learning to speak to yourself is
It's huge. It's so huge. I love that. Thank you. So when I told you that I didn't have the ability to make you feel any way, right?
mm-hmm.
What do you think I was saying when I said that? Because I talk about this a lot, how we sometimes give people the control of our emotions when we actually control. We're the puppeteer master of our emotions. So when I said that to you, do you feel like, because there's some people like, you don't know how you made me feel, and it's like, I definitely don't. I can't change what you experience, but you control how you feel. What do you think about that?
um it has a lot to do with your perspective on things. um and what's I'd say one thing like you told me is like about, for example, being sad. Like that is something I control. Like I choose to be sad, and don't. And sometimes people get so focused on what they can't fix instead of staying in what they can fix because they're not solution based people. Um, so something you can control is your response to things. Going back and saying I'm unable to talk about this right now, or I need to go think about what you just said, and exiting when you think you're getting to that point where you feel like your feelings are about to get hurt. So learning how to control your response to things, that plays a part in how you.
That's so good. Um, God, you're just so amazing. I love it. So when you got, because me and you we've struggled with, as we're growing through this parenting thing, we struggle with something where when I'm trying to either get you to self-correct yourself or correct you, or even when you're correcting me, because a lot of people have no idea that the reason why Sis Is It You was written was because of you and Jordan, because you guys are really a mirror for me. And you guys literally are like always giving me my sis is it you moments. Like, no, mom, it's you, it's you.
Yeah.
So when I took the opportunity to explain to you that what correction meant and what self-correction does and stuff like that, what did that allow you to do for me to be able just to talk to you about it and not being like, I'm the parent and I said and da 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 da, because in that moment I had to self-correct myself. I had to realize that there are things that I was bringing into my parenting that were not correct.
Yeah.
And so being able to not hear, to be able to listen to you when your tone is necessarily off to a parent, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then to be able to calm us down and get us through that situation. What do you think about parents that are able to self-correct themselves in that moment to be able to help their child self-correct?
Um,
Does that make sense?
kind of. Can
Like, for example, like me being able to, you always say that you have friends that don't have parents that are able to do that.
yeah.
Like there's a lot of people out there that don't recognize the sis is it you moment. So those moments are, you have to be able to self-correct yourself in those moments, because there is a correct way, there's a better way to do things. What What would you like to tell parents out there for their sis is it you, bro is it you moment when it comes to listening to your kid in a moment of correction?
Um,
What would you tell me?
um,
Now's your chance. Lay it on me.
I don't know what I'd tell you because you've been very, not necessarily open of, actually, yeah, you've been very open about, um, when I do something wrong and you're like, oh, I did that. And you reminding me that that's okay. You grow from things like this. And yeah, like you just, like I talked about in when I was on one of your episodes last time, is you being open about things you've done, things you've experienced. Have you grown from that? Then it allows me, like, that's okay. What I did was okay. I mean, it wasn't okay, but it's something I'm gonna grow from.
Right.
And yeah.
What Okay, that's good. Okay, so my next question is don't settle for better, be right. So at Grandpa Jeff's funeral, I got up and I talked about how Grandpa Jeff was the master at making sure that you did things right. Like not just better, like, oh, okay, I did it better, but I did it right. Why do you think that I'm so big on settling for right with yourself instead of better? What do you think that's done for you?
You can only be better for so long, and then you're just back to being wrong. Like, it's a point where it's like, yeah, I'm working towards getting better, but it's not really. I'm not going to where I can be.
Right.
I'm sort of staying in this. Well, I'm working on growing, but I'm not really doing what I need to do to grow. And so you're never gonna reach the full fulfillment that you need to if you're only focused on being better. Be right, because being better is just it's not a permanent solution.
Right.
Being right is. So yeah, and it doesn't take a lot to get to being right. So honestly, reflecting on how you can be better and then actually applying it, that's when you're being right.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
You're so right. I love it. I was just talking to somebody the other day and they were telling me, well, I'm working on this. I'm working on this and I'm currently working on this. And I said, you've been working on this for a long time.
Yeah.
You literally have been working on this for a long time. I don't want you to work on this anymore. I want you to do what you say you're going to do. And so I ended up telling the person, I say, so what you can say is that I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do when I say I'm going to do it. And I said, and you get to choose what you do and you get to choose what you say. So then you don't have to be better. You could be right. So if you're like, hey, I'm not going to call you back today, you can say, I'm not going to call you back today. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then it's not I'm working on calling you back. I'm not calling you back. And so people have to understand that the working on it. I love when people be like, what do they say? Oh God, I can't even think of it right now, but it's the difference between better and right. And a lot of us get caught up in the better situation because we're lazy.
Yeah, I found myself in some of those situations. So,
Tell us about it.
um,
You're like, which one?
yeah, because there's so many where it's just like telling myself like the little things matter. And it's like the little things can matter for a long time, and then it's like you'd rather the big thing matter.
Yeah.
Um, and so just like, yeah, it's laziness.
I'll give for me, it's the next topic is read the manual. And so my situation was your sister has really bad asthma. A lot of people don't know that we've struggled with really bad, like Jordan hospitalized and stuff like that. And we weren't using the inhaler right. And then you have asthma. So can you imagine? And then dad has asthma. So we were all using these inhalers wrong, and the spacers wrong. And last week I had a guest, Christina Weatherby, and she's a respiratory nurse. And last year I was telling her as Jordan was going through a peak season, and it was really bad. And I was telling her, and she basically went back and read me the manual about how to use the spacer. And I was only doing it better. Like I was going to the doctor getting more medicine. I was like, maybe this will be better. Maybe this will be better. Maybe this will be better, right? But not using it correctly because I never read the manual. And so when she gave it to me and we read the manual this year, we were able to do much better with George's asthma because we had actually read the manual. It brings me back to why when we go to the doctor and we go to the doctor to get better,
Mm-hmm.
and then we get mad at the doctor because he starts asking us about what were we doing to be right.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, are you doing this? Are you doing this? And we get so caught up with all the questions that are being asked. Like, I have a headache. I've had a headache for 6 days. Focus on that. And he was like, but the headache came because what were you doing better instead of right during that time?
Yeah.
And a lot of times we don't recognize that we settle for better only because it's comfortable at that time. And right is, like you said, is not far from better.
Yeah.
It's right is applying it. Better is just saying it to me, and making little fine tuning and stuff like that, and saying, I can just read the manual. What's an example that you read the manual and you're like, aha, I got it. And now you're like, I am working on this is the correct way of J.
Doing homework. Doing homework in my room doesn't work for me. Doing homework in my bed doesn't work for me.
This is on live, just letting you know this is recorded and we will use this against you. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, doing homework in my bed doesn't work for me. And it took my mom sending me a video. I forgot. It was this one video of a guy explaining how we're supposed to associate the bed to sleep and rest and being comfortable and not work. That is supposed to be where we go to rest. And so when I get into my bed, it's like, oh my gosh, all I can think about is what I have to do. Like, I'm not even worried about, oh, this is where you're supposed to rest your mind. And I just overthink everything I have to do. Like, and then me associating homework in my bed. Like, that's me putting in my brain, oh, now this is where you do your homework. This is where you get all your work done. This is where you get all your thinking done. That's not where you get all your thinking done. That's where you stop and take a pause on thinking. Because thinking, it takes over your mind.
Yeah.
It is your mind. So, yeah.
So when you did that, you stopped doing your homework in your room?
Now that you say that, that's one of the things that I'm better. It's a better thing. It's not a right thing. I've been doing homework on my floor because that's better, Jay, than in your bed. But no, that's not better, Jay. Now that I think about it, that is not better because it did not work. I'm very fixated on trying to make temporary solutions my permanent solution, and I don't go out and try to see the permanent one. I try to replace a bunch of small temporary that doesn't last. So yes, that was self-correction right there for me.
You just had a self-revelation moment. What was your biggest self-revelation?
Oh, wow. That's funny.
And it's funny that you say that because you've learned that from me.
Oh, yeah.
And I had to
She
stop
got the whole thing so she could set all her stuff up in her bed and she can be comfortable and yeah, Mom.
Yeah.
And she has a whole office. Since we're online, she has a whole office.
Yeah.
And everything.
And you know, it's so funny that you say that, is I had to learn that. And that's why I had to start making myself, because there were things that I would avoid my office sometimes because I knew that that meant work.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I knew my room meant rest. And so sometimes we have to have good discernment, which means good judgment about when to work and when to rest.
Yeah.
And sometimes resting will try to creep into work time,
Yeah.
and work time will try to keep into resting time. And you have to know that you have to be able to self-correct that, you know? Um, so have you asked yourself lately, sis, is it you?
Yeah, for one, just now. For two, all the time when I talk to you, even though I may not say it. Um, what's an example? Um, what's an example? Oh, at school. At school, there are these two girls who sit next to me, and they are constantly talking about other people that are not worried about them, and are probably not talking about them. Um, and when I got home, I got on the phone with my best friend, and we're going on, and we're getting into a situation about a friend who posted about them hanging out with other friends, and we're going on about each individual person. We're just throwing out, and that's why this she, and that's why she, and the audacity, is she gonna? And I'm just like, you were literally just going off in your head about these two girls sitting next to you who are best friends, complaining about other people, and you're doing it right now. And I'm like, this is not us. We need to stop.
Yeah,
Like, let's change the subject. How's school? What's
that's good.
going on in your life? What's coming up next? What are our goals this year? Like, that's been,
Your sis is it you moment.
yeah, one of them.
That's good.
But I
You know,
have
and
them
that,
every day.
yeah, me too. And people, you know, it's so funny. People, because I wrote this book, people don't understand that I get them so much. It's just how I move quickly through them. It's because I don't want to be better. I then correct them because I don't want them to continue to happen. My most recently sis is at you moment was given to you. I got mad at your dad the other day for waking him up and trying to show him something while he was getting ready for work. And and he was like, he didn't have time, and he was telling me, I don't have time, and I got my feelings hurt, and I was like, whatever. And Jay came in the room right after that, after my husband left for work. And she's like, what's wrong with you? And I explained to her the situation, and she looked at me and she said, sis, why did you think that that was a good time to tell him that? Why did you think that da 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 da? And she was like, you know, he's a grump when he wakes up. You know, he's always looking for his things, and he's frantic, and he's stressed for time. She said, you know all these things. You have pre-knowledge of all these things, yet you try to squeeze yourself into them. And she's like, you're wrong. And I was like, oh my God, yes, I am. Yes, I am. And I remember having to, the next day, having to apologize to my husband because she said, Jay was like, I know better. I'm not about to make myself upset because he's already frantic and stuff. She's like, so sis, it's you. And I remember telling my friends right after that, like, oh my God, Jay just gave me this biggest sis is it you moment. And then I told daddy, and he was like, that's my daughter. Yeah. And it was funny because we don't recognize that, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes people don't realize that there's sisses at you moments all the time, you
Mm-hmm.
know? But if you are able to self-correct, the sisses at you moments can turn into not sisses at you moment where it's bad. It's like, sis, it is you. These are good moments. Sis, you are self-correcting. Sis, you are learning how to self-accept good things and self-allow and all these things and stuff like that. So that is what self-correction is about. I'm so happy because my daughter has been showing me her ability to self-correct. Even just this week, it's been a tough week for us, and she has been amazing. And her ability to correct quickly and once she sees things has been impeccable. And I just want to give you your flowers because without that, right, you wouldn't be able to be a guest on this show and to talk so eloquently about where you are and where you're going. And I really appreciate you because you're an amazing kid, and I just want you to know that.
Thank you.
So,
And when
huh?
it also has a big role, because like we talked about in one of your last episodes, it also this plays a big role in you being open about things that you go through, and things, and you sharing your growing moments and your sisters at you moments, and you just being so open about that has allowed me to um, be able to speak about things like this and have the mindset that I have now. Um,
Right.
and that it all starts with you and my foundation and you and dad, and yeah, y'all have just been amazing and teaching us how to do things like this and be able to speak about things like this. So yeah.
Well, you know what? I thank you so much because by the grace of God, I have been allowed another chance to make sure I do this right. And so parenting you correctly and the best I can, is going to be something that I want my grandchildren to experience and my great grandchildren and my great great grandchildren and stuff like that. And I think pouring into your legacy is so important at an early age when you think that it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And being able to see you on this live and see you speak to my audience, I am humbly honored.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone that tuned into this episode. We appreciate you. I hope you check out this full episode. And Jay is amazing. She is going to be on many other episodes. She's also coming out with her own show and own thing on YouTube. So check her out soon. And we love you. Have a good day.
Bye.